Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Dr. Blakeney, and I am at Fort Ticonderoga. Ticonderoga, that's how you say it. This fort has a pretty vibrant history, and I'm going to show you right now why it was important. Behind me, you can see the very southern end of Lake Champlain, and over there is Lake George. So this fort was settled in 1609 by the French. This is in central northern New York, about an hour north of Albany, maybe 2 or 3 hours north of New York City, depending on traffic, almost due north. And it was strategically important because it was the land where two rivers met. And so the French had this in 1609. They built this fort here, and during the French and Indian War in 1758, a guy named Abercrombie tried to take over this fort with 16,000 men, and they came up from the south here in this lake, and they were unsuccessful, but then they did get it in 1759. Another person, Amherst, was able to take it. But what's cool, or what's interesting, is that the French knew a couple days in advance that they were coming. Amherst had about 11,000 men, and the French were only 2,300. So most of them left, 1,900 left, 400 stayed here, and they just shot off their cannons as much as possible. And you can see there's a bunch of examples of cannons and mortars around, and they shot these off, and then they knew that the fort was going to be taken. So then they blew up the powder room, which had 48,000 pounds of gunpowder in it. Apparently you could feel it 3 miles away and hear it up to 30 miles away. But what they did, which is really interesting, is they left all these cannons full of gunpowder, and as the fire erupted after all the gunpowder exploded, the cannons kept on firing off even though the people, the 400 soldiers, left. So then it became part of the British colonies, and it was that. Not much happened here until the American Revolution. And during the American Revolution in 1775, Ethan Allen and Benedict Arnold and the Green Mountain Boys, they came down from New York, which is that direction over there, and they were able to take this fort, and they took all the artillery, all the cannons and mortars, and they took them over to Boston, where the British were doing the siege of Boston, and Washington and others were defending Boston. And so they were able, part of the reason they were able to do well in Boston was because of the artillery that they got from here. But eventually the British got this fort back, and it became, during the rest of the war, it was part of the British had control of it, and then eventually they abandoned it because this area was no longer strategically important. During the Revolution, the American Revolution, the colonies tried to go all the way up to Canada. They were unsuccessful. They were fighting mostly in southern areas, and so this area, this fort was actually abandoned. So that's a little bit of history here, and I hope you enjoyed the pictures and my quick explanation. And if you have a chance, come and visit. It's really cool here. One thing I want to tell you is that unlike most parks, this one is privately owned, and so they're trying to recreate everything in 1759. So all the people, they're wearing clothes that they've created using the exact same techniques as they did in 1759. They'll explain everything, and I think that's the coolest part of visiting Fort Ticonderoga, which means the land between rivers. All right, take care. See you in the classroom soon. Bye-bye.